It's closing day! Does that sound reminiscent of last time? Exactly 1 year ago, we closed on our previous house hack. Now we're closing on our new one. We were so excited. Yesterday, our episode on the Bigger Pockets OG podcast aired, and it has been crazy. So it is just so cool to see everything come together. We're so excited.
With the addition of this property, that will bring our portfolio up to 10 units. We're inheriting a tenant, which is nice because that'll allow us some income while we're renovating our unit. And we've inherited a tenant in the past in our last house hack, so it makes it seem a little less daunting to inherit a tenant. It's really not as bad as we thought it was going to be and not as scary.
All right, so we got some driving to do. We're going to sign lots of papers and we're going to hand over a fat check.
Before we get to that closing table, we are on our way to the property to do a final walkthrough. And you do this so that you can make sure that when you put your offer in, the property is in the same condition that it was at that point. Nobody's gone in and stolen a bunch of copper piping, destroyed a bunch of walls. It keeps you safe so you don't walk into a train wreck after closing.
For example, when we were closing on property number 2, we agreed that the seller was supposed to fix something with the water heater in the basement. And we went and did the pre-inspection. We found out he did not do that. So we ended up just putting money in an escrow account to hold him accountable to get that fixed. But if we didn't go prior to closing, we would have never known. And then we would have had no leverage to hold the seller accountable.
We're home. Almost. Just as rough as we left it.
Just realizing how much little work needs to happen. Waterworks.
Good?
Good.
Sweet. All right, property looks exactly how we left it. So we give it our stamp of approval. Let's get going to the closing table.
Looks good. We are here. All right, so we're at our realtor's office and...
You always know it's a good day when we're walking up to it.
Got the keys!
We've done this before.
This does seem eerily familiar. We just bought a triplex. We got the keys. All right, closing went well. Met the sellers. They were super nice. And probably gonna get some food and then we'll head over to the house and we'll start it up.
Dude, we just bought this place.
Welcome to our new house! Woo! So I'm excited because Kyle and I do the deal finding together. I do all of the closing, so I've been stressed out the past month making sure his closing goes smoothly and all of our paperwork for the loan goes through. But Kyle renovates, so I take a back seat. This is his turn.
And joke's on her because I don't get stressed. This is where I thrive. I love this stage and I take it off her hands and this is where I live. I love it. I love it.
But we can't do that in these clothes. Ooh. Let's get to work. Woo! Let's talk numbers.
Before we get our hands dirty, let us share with you guys how we found it, how we're funding it, and all those numbers.
If you're new to the series, then you wouldn't know that we did find this property on the MLS. We did go driving for dollars, we pulled some addresses, but this property popped up and we came and looked at it, put an offer before we even put our driving for dollars letters in the mail.
Which I said it before, it is super important to stay adaptive, and if you're doing mail campaigns or driving for dollars, things like that,
don't ignore the MLS, because that's what's happened to us the last couple of times. We've tried to get creative on finding properties, and then inevitably one pops up and we end up buying it off the MLS.
The property was originally listed for $400,000. We were not paying that. So we offered $365,000 with $10,000 back. And we submitted a letter with the offer that included a picture of us and our plans for the property. Now, we learned through both the listing agent and our realtor, who did some digging, that the seller's main pain point was that he has a tenant on the other side who's been here for years. She would prefer not to leave, and he didn't want to kick her out. Other investors did make offers, supposedly cash offers, that were supposedly higher than ours. You know, we'll never know. But the reason that he liked us is because we were okay keeping the current tenant.
Now, the her side is super dated, and it definitely needs a lot of work. So I think what was happening was a lot of investors were coming in and they wanted that unit vacant so they could do a full reno on it.
Raise rents and really capitalize on that cash flow.
Yeah, so that's not what this current owner wanted for that unit and for that tenant.
So in came us. We're happy to keep her, especially while we're renovating our unit. And then, you know, during COVID, a paying tenant is super valuable. So we're happy to keep her, and that kind of gave us the little leverage that we needed with the seller. So he accepted our offer, and then we moved on to inspection, because we did do a financing contingency and an inspection clause. The inspection didn't necessarily share with us anything more, but it did bring to light how serious some of the issues were that we kind of already assumed, like the roof. It definitely needs to be replaced.
Which is a great key to take away. Do not waive inspection clauses. Even if you walk properties and you know what you're looking at, gives you a lot of leverage going into negotiating, having things on paper, having maybe quotes for those problems that come back on the inspection report, gives you a lot of leverage.
So we took the inspection report, and I'm not going to dive too deep in the details. You can go watch our video that we released a couple weeks ago all about the inspection, where we show you everything that we did, and we were able to renegotiate the price down from $365 with 10 back to $350 with 10 back. So basically $340.
That $10,000 back is only to be used for closing costs.
So that's how we found it on the MLS, and now how we are funding it. When we first started looking for this house hack, we really thought we were going to be able to do a 5% down conventional loan. Because this was not our first purchase and this was a duplex, the Fannie and Freddie guidelines basically said the minimum we could put down was 15%.
Those are the two key factors. Not your first property and a residential multifamily.
And at first I'm not gonna lie, almost like a deal breaker for us. 5 to 15% is a huge difference when you're putting money down on a $350,000 house.
Yeah.
And we almost backed out of it because we didn't know if we had the cash or if that's what we wanted to do with our available cash.
We didn't want to be in a position where we were really low on funds, so it was a big decision to make on whether it was the right decision or not.
But we just kept running the numbers, and this deal is going to be amazing once it's fully up to speed, and we just felt like it was a perfect move for us. So we just finagled some things on our end financially, and we were able to make it work.
On to how we're funding renovations. We luckily have enough cash savings left over to fund this ourselves, so we don't have to worry about financing anything, taking out loans, or putting anything on credit cards.
Unfortunately, we're able to DIY these renovations, and that's going to keep the costs lower so that we are able to fund it in cash.
Just to put it into numbers, we've spent $40,000 on Little Pal's renovations. We saved, just in labor, upwards of $16,000. So on a place that's larger, we're looking at some pretty significant savings. So if you could DIY some projects on a renovation of this size, maybe do it.
We're not gonna analyze this property right now. We did that in a video a few weeks ago, so go back and check that out. And then we'll do it again once we move in our finished renovation so we could see how true our numbers were.
Until we start opening this place up and opening walls up, with these old houses, you're not gonna know for sure what you're gonna have to do. So there's carpet downstairs, and we have this plan to just refinish the hardwoods that are underneath it. We may find we pull that carpet up and there may be a large portion of the floor that's plywood, and we may then have to do LVP throughout the downstairs, which could significantly throw your numbers around. Until you start opening up old houses, stay flexible, stay adaptive. Those final numbers we'll definitely share with you guys.
And that's it. So if you have any questions about how we found it, how we funded it, drop a comment below. We'll be doing a deep dive into the renovations in the next video, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
That is it. We are out of here. Now that we've got a plan in place, in the next episode, we're gonna start tearing things apart. And as you guys will probably see, a lot of times these old houses do not want to cooperate.
No, we don't have a name for this one, so please comment below what you think we should call this new duplex, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Later.